Okay, again, good morning. So there's a story about this guy. Tell a story about this guy who's driving down the highway. He's speeding. A police officer pulls him over, and the police officer comes over with a big smile, and he says to the guy, you know, I've been waiting all day for you. The guy says to the officer, I know, officer, that's why I got here as quickly as I can. In this week's parsha, we read the opposite. You know, sometimes you can't wait to get somewhere. Sometimes you want to go as slow as possible. You're avoiding getting to where you need to go. And that's what happens in this week's parsha. Yaakov had ran away from his brother Esav after taking his blessings, and he stayed away as long as he can in the house of Lavan. But after 20 years, he has to come home, and he has to, as they say, face the music. He has to meet his brother. And we read about how he prepares to meet his brother Esav and try to resolve the family feud, which he actually manages to resolve and make peace with his brother in this week's Torah portion. But before he makes peace with his brother, there's an encounter in which an angel, which our rabbis say was the archangel of Esav, confronts Yaakov in the middle of the night, and they have a wrestling match. And he tries to injure him, and he does dislocate his hip, but ultimately Yaakov prevails, and he pins down this angel, and the angel says, let me go, I need to go. It's time to go sing the morning prayers in heaven to God. And Yaakov says to the angel, every person has a guardian angel, he says to the angel of Esav, I won't let you go till you give me a blessing. So he says, what's your name? He says, my name is Yaakov, Jacob. He says, your name should no longer be Yaakov, your name should be Yisrael. Why? Ki sarita em Elokim v'anashim etachal. You wrestled with angels and with man, with God, meaning an angel, and with man, and you prevailed. And henceforth, Yaakov gets a new name, Yisrael, and we are not called Bnei Yaakov, we are called Bnei Yisrael, the children of Israel. So this name, Yisrael, obviously encapsulates the entire identity and essence of what it means to be a Jew. And what does it mean? That we could wrestle not only with men, and we've been wrestling as Jews with anti-Semitism, with the Esavs of the world for 3,000 years plus. So we know we wrestled with man, but also we wrestle with angels. What does it mean to you and I that we wrestle with angels and we prevail? So the Rabbi gives a beautiful answer. He says that the Talmud says before a baby's born, an angel brings the seed of the child that is going to be born, and he says to God, Tipazu mataheala, this seed, this baby that's going to be born, what kind of a child should it become? And the Talmud describes the angel almost like with a checklist. And he asks a series of questions to God. For example, the Talmud says, the angel says to God, Tipazu, this child that will be born, should the child be chacham or tipesh? Wise or foolish? You know, some people born with a high IQ or emotional intelligence. Some people are very low. That's predestined. You are born with it. Then the angel says, Gibor or chalash? Should it be a strong person or a weak person? Ashir or ani? Should he be rich or she be rich or poor? And on, all the questions. So the Rabbi says a person commits a sin, does something foolish, they could seemingly, based on this Talmudic passage, have a good defense. God, what do you want from me? Before I was even born, you already determined I would be a tipesh, I would be a fool, and make foolish decisions. Or you already determined before I was born that I would be a weak person. So how could you hold it against me for what I've done? So the Rebbe says this is what it means that God says every Jew wrestles with man, but also with angels. Just because the angel said it doesn't mean you can't overcome it. Why? Because a Jew is greater than an angel. Because we know that angels are stagnant. They stay on one level. They're perfect, but they don't grow. Human beings could transcend their negative nature and be even higher than an angel. So don't think you're limited by whatever the angel predicted or decreed would be your identity in life, weak or foolish. No, you could wrestle with the angel that determined what you would be, and you could transcend whatever proclamation was made in heaven before you were born. And this is what it means to be a Yisrael. Not just to wrestle with man for good and evil, but even to wrestle with that angel who may have said something about you, but you prove him wrong and say, I could go beyond that. I'll tell you an amazing story. There's a great rabbi in Jerusalem, his name was Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld. He was a big tzaddik. He lived during the early 1900s, late 1800s, during the times of the British Mandate. He was a holy man. He tells the story, he was once walking through the streets of Yerushalayim, and he sees a little girl crying. He says, what's the matter? The girl says, my mother's very sick, and it was a 4-year-old girl, she was crying. He says, come, let me go meet your mother. He goes into the house, he sees, unfortunately, a bunch of children in the house, and the mother's in bed, she's sick, and the house is in a little bit of disarray. He goes to the woman, he gives her blessings and encouragement, and he says, I give you a blessing that not only will you recover, you'll merit to walk your daughter to the chuppah. Anyways, sure enough, after that blessing, the mother recovered and she got better, but she had on and off health issues. She struggled, but she survived. This 4-year-old girl grows up, and sure enough, she's now marriageable age, 18, 19, 20. They start speaking shidduchim, proposals for marriage, and she's very picky. Nah, this one's not good, this one's not good. She's getting older, 21, 22, 23. In Jerusalem, it's an old girl, 24, 25. There are other siblings, so the family says, look, we can't wait. The younger brothers, younger sisters have to get married, so they start letting the next children date. The next sister dates, she gets married. The next sister dates, she gets married. The next brother. All the younger siblings get married. This girl's still not married. And now this girl is 32 years old, which is a very old girl in where she was coming from, the very religious community. At 32, she finally meets someone, Basheret, and she agrees to marry him and gets married. Have a beautiful chasana, and the blessing of Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld was fulfilled. The mother walks her down the aisle to the chuppah. Shortly afterwards, the mother's health took a turn for the worse, and the mother passed away. And at the funeral, there's a custom to go ask forgiveness before they lower the casket. You ask forgiveness for any wrongdoing you've done. And this girl goes over to her mother's casket, to her mother's kever, and says, Ima, I ask you forgiveness for the 15 years of aggravation I gave you, from 18 to 33. I know how hard it was for you dealing with all the aggravation of one rejection after another rejection. I would refuse to marry anyone. Nobody was good enough for me. I know it was very hard for you to watch me not get married for 15 years. So please forgive me, but let me tell you why I did it. I did it because I knew we had a blessing from Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld that you would live to walk me down to the chuppah. I wanted to make sure you not only walk me to the chuppah, but you walk all of your children down to the chuppah. So I waited till the last child was married, and only then agreed to get married. And here you see the ultimate example that a Jew can prevail even over an angel, even over the angel of death. Even if something's predetermined, that tzaddik, a righteous person, through his blessing and through this girl's selfless devotion to her younger siblings and to her mother, was able to prevail even over the worst angel, the angel of death. Surely in our lifetime, we are not limited as Jews by anything. As our name Yisrael conveys to us, we are so powerful, we could wrestle not only with man, but even with angels and with God himself. Okay.